examinations, and the senior sixes and P7s as well will be sitting for their exams also really in the coming few days in here. All in all, I want to say success in your examinations for those who are already writing the exams, and to the parents who have also struggled to make sure that their children go to school and attain the basic education. We really want to say we are proud of you, because without education, I really don't know how we shall be living in this world and what kind of maybe world we shall be living in without education. But that is where we would also really want to thank all the parents and all the stakeholders who are making strides to make sure the learners are educated. And that is where we come in for the Friday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. And today is also the 18th day really into that month once again in here, and the year still is 2024. And Benson, it is the first time we are doing this show for the week, and it's really the last time as well. What a chance, and also maybe what opportunities that did you also encounter as we were off?
Yeah, exactly. It has been a while. It is the last edition of KOKOLIRIKO for this week. It's a pleasure for us to sit together again, though it's towards the end of the week. Like you have said, the exams are proceeding very well for the senior 4 candidates. Both senior 4s who are sitting for new curriculum for the first time, and also those ones who are
the last lot.
Actually, you see, those ones who are sitting for all the curriculum, they are sitting for the last time. Meanwhile, for new curriculum, it is the first of its kind. There is always a slogan that no gain without education. I don't know if it is true or not, but we have seen some successful people without gaining education. So what I can say is education is very, very vital. So you are most welcome from wherever you are catching us from.
Yes, Benson, during this period where we have been off, and somebody may be wanting to know where we have been touring some of the districts within West Nile sub-region.
True.
And the other day before yesterday, we were in Terego. That was at Tuku Health Center too. And really, you realize Terego district is really suffering. There's no hospital at the district. Most of their facilities are health center 2s and 3s. That are also doing a lot of work, and today you realize with the population, the hospitals are a bit far-fetched. And really, Benson, you realize that the people of Terego are indeed suffering, and the need for hospital is really very vital. And besides that, the health centers still do not have enough personnel, because under the new administrative units, they are not allowed to recruit.
First, it is true. If you take Terego district alone, it's one of the densely populated districts we have in West Nile region. When you talk about health facilities, health facilities, they are not all about the structures we are seeing. Health facilities, they are comprising of so many things. First of all, the health personnel who are supposed to work in these health facilities. What about the drugs? And also sometimes you see that these health facilities are there, the personnel are there, but you don't see the drugs. So these are the challenges, of course, the masses continues to encounter, not only in Terego, but in Terego, it's very, very alarming, and also in Madokoro, not forgetting about Marta. At least you may talk about, you may mention Moyo, Ajuman, and also the mother city, that's Arua city. But if you talk about some of the neighboring districts surrounding Arua city, it is very, very alarming in terms of the challenges people continue to encounter in these facilities too.
Yes, Benson, that is quite true. In West Nile sub-region, we have 2 regional general referral hospitals, that is Yumbe and Arua. And if you look at Yumbe, it is actually supporting those from the neighboring districts, and those from Terego district today are forced to actually move either to Arua district, to Arua city, or they have to be referred to Yumbe, depending on maybe the distance from them in there. And that is one factor which I feel is really, really very much bad and affecting so many people also when it comes to access to health. And that is where access to health services is actually very much critical.
First, I don't know if you have been observing, it mostly happens in baby districts. Baby districts I mentioned in the newly established districts.
And if you look at the newly established districts, actually Terego district was the last district created out of Uganda, if I'm not mistaken. That was during the COVID-19 pandemic in there, and that is how the district emerged. And other than that, we also have Madiokolo, another baby district also really, which is just less than 5 years. And all districts, I must say, are really struggling with challenges of access to medical health. This is because most of them do not have what we call hospitals. Madiokolo also does not have a hospital, and that entirely leaves the entire burden on health center 3s and health center 2s, which are really struggling a lot. And really, Benson, the other time, we were in Terego district, and this was at Tuku Health Center, which is also really one of those health facilities that is really overwhelmed by numbers. But really, the challenge in there is that people have to trek long distances.
Now,
and in case of referrals, the ambulances are not there. People have to be referred, really. I don't know how the people can be transported. But it's still a big challenge. There's really a big challenge which I feel government must be able to solely address when it comes to empowering and also giving a hospital for these newly created local governments.
Exactly. There is no any other way that you are going to underrate any district because it is a baby district. Because they also have in masses like we have in the traditional districts. So we are all looking for a way of how we can be able to build or strategize in these baby districts. There is no any other way you are going to say that this one is yet newly established. They need to be given time. Of course, the population will keep on increasing in these districts. And it's true, health facilities, of course, is something that should not be taken for granted. It's not the normal when we talk about these things, people's mind goes to the leaders. It's not the leaders who are supposed to provide these things. In fact, the advocate. Yeah, that is the term I was going to say. The advocate, they can lobby from the government.
Yes.
So that means the whole strategy now goes into the hands of that government to see that they also cater for these baby districts, to see that they also operate like how traditional districts operate.
Okay. By the way, talking about these newly established districts, there's one thing besides health, the infrastructure is really growing. I was in Terego, the stadium is almost done. The district headquarters are very nice. Moved to Madiokolo, the same. It means they are really doing a lot when it comes to infrastructure development, and that is where we must also appreciate them. Besides them being young, they have really indeed challenged some of these local governments that have been in existence.
You see, first,
let's look at the district. Today they are still struggling.
It's true.
With what we call district headquarters, where the LC5 chairperson is still sitting under the tree, which is really quite embarrassing because they have not up to now established what we call their centers, and they are still in a rural city. That is really a big challenge, and if you move to a rural city as well, the infrastructure is really not up to date. The infrastructure is lacking. I think they have indeed done their best. They have really challenged some of those local governments that have been in existence. Much as they're young, they have really done a lot. And I really want to say governments should now come out and support them when it comes to hospitals and giving them hospitals, because indeed health is wealth. That is a saying in most cases. But Benson, besides that, we did also see Stanbic Bank rushing out to the aid of these local governments. Through donations of medical assortments. We are able to see these local governments being supported with what you call medical assortment, where they were given beds. These are beds for patients, and then beds for maternity. And that is also one thing we did see happening. And they were as well given mama kits. This is basically going to be helping the mothers who are in need of maternity services. And that is where we shall be seeing that happening. And all this is aiming at reducing maternal deaths. If you look at maternal deaths, Benson, today, it's really a great concern all over the world. And government the world had also really put up a place, and that's only by one of the agendas, the Sustainable Development Goals, wants to ensure by the year 2030, there should be no maternal deaths. And if you count down the years, we are just left with about 6 years. That is to clock that, but you're still seeing maternal deaths. Shall we realize the dream of the world? That is to end maternal deaths by 2030. And that is one thing which maybe is a question of debate. It is actually something that may generate debate. But all in all, Benson, I want to say they were able to also be given all this. And officials from Stanbic Bank, both at the regional and national level, we are here in Western Sub-Region. The Chief Finance Officer was here. We had the regional manager, that's Bernard Odur from Gulu, where the Stanbic Bank headquarters sit, was also as well here. And the bank manager, Farua, as well moved with the team. And that is where we are able to see a colorful function where these local governments were able to be supported. And now the next stop over will be at Adjumani Government Hospital. All this is aiming at improving maternal health in the region. And money worth 80 million has been channeled towards that. And in Madokolo, it was about 25 million. Terego, it was about 27 million. And Adjumani as well will be getting its own portion. All that is under the corporate responsibility of the bank that is aiming towards improving maternal death. So I think it is quite important that we have to acknowledge some of these partners, because without partners, the government may not be everywhere. Usually we say the hand of the government may not be everywhere, and that is where I really want to implore the rest of the private partners to also come up on board and support government just like Stanbic Bank did, and I hope at the end of the day that will be quite important for us to see also really that government realizes the intended purpose, that is of improving health of its citizens.
First, what I know is, and also to the viewers outside there, is bringing the rate of maternal deaths complete. It cannot happen. We can reduce it slowly, gradually, until it comes to an end. Actually, we are looking for a way of how we can be able to reduce the rate of maternal deaths. Like you have said, it's not only the masses alone, it's not the government alone. Of course, it needs a collective effort, whereby the masses will have to play a vital role. Government comes in, and also the intervention of the partners, like entities. We are, like right now, we are discussing about Stanbic Bank. It's a very good initiative they have taken. I think this one is going to be so inspirational to the rest of the entities.
Yes, it's really indeed quite inspirational, as you've said, and I hope at the end of the day, all these private partners should be able to learn a lesson in terms of their CSI, what we call CSI is corporate social investment, or corporate social responsibility, as you may wish to call. So I think it's quite important for all these local governments to also benefit from some of these private partners. We have so many private partners in these districts that I was able to mention.
And this is the way how,
look
of course, they are going to be recognized.
These are actually refugee hosting districts. We have a portion of the refugees in Terego, others in Madiokolo. So I think with all these entities in place, it's really quite good for them to come back and give back the community through empowering the health sector, and that would at the end of the day see that we improve when it comes to health. And that is where we want to acknowledge, we want to sort of appreciate Stanbic Bank for that good initiative, and that is where we are going to be also...
First, it is true you have mentioned about these districts being refugee hosting districts, like Obongi, Ajuman, one of them, Teregu, one of them, Koboko, with the exception of only Koboko. But if you mention Teregu, if you mention Madiokolo, you talk about Teregu and Obongi. These are districts which are dilapidated when it comes to infrastructures. You look at the roads, you look at the health facilities, we have just been the electricity, also the education sector.
There's really a lot more that needs to be done in these districts, most especially Madiokolo and Terego.
Terego, including Obongi.
The poles have not reached everywhere. And we're talking about rural electrification, or what we call the government program that is aiming back at giving back electricity, that is the rural community, and giving access to them. But then the challenge, Benson, that we've seen is that the poles have not been able to go everywhere. Some of those homesteads could be ready for this electricity. We're able to see on our way back modern houses that have been established, but they're relying on solar. They do not have the poles. So I think there's really a lot more that needs to be done. Terego, the poles have not also reached everywhere. We also did see the same scenarios, meaning the poles still have to continue charging their gadgets using maybe power that is from solar or generator, but which is not enough. So I think government would also really should be able to do this, and also really make sure electricity reaches everywhere. So I think other than that, we will still be talking about infrastructure development, and that would also really still remain history. And yet, maternal challenge is really still a great concern, and really some of those facilities lack power, first of all, to keep maybe a different equipment. And at the end of the day, that goes back to the ordinary person. And today with teenage pregnancy, which is really a great concern in some of these rural districts, because these are rural districts, I will openly say that these are rural districts, and nobody will actually pay me for that. These are still rural districts that are trying to emerge. Let's talk about the teenage pregnancy in these districts. We have child marriages and child families, where the husband is a child, the mother is a child, and the baby is also a child. And if at all of them start crying, so we shall be saying it is children crying in the house. So what does it call for?
I don't know if I am using the best term. I was told that the youngest mother in Teregu district is 13 years old. And if you take a look at the sectors we have been talking about, electricity, education, health, these things actually they have a connection to the other one. So that means a lot of emphasis, of course, will have to be given to these rural districts. Like in Obongi, there is no any other school that is having advanced A level, that's A level. Talking about the rate of teenage pregnancy, we are always saying that it's all about mindset, sensitizing the masses. But also, however much we sensitize these teenagers, let me say like that, when there is no education, yes, we may gather them, we may say, hey, let's do this, don't do this, let's do this, don't do this. When you are not actually working on the sector of education, how will they be in position to improve in teenage pregnancy to see that they actually work towards eliminating or reducing the rate of teenage pregnancy? That's why I'm saying all these things, all these sectors, they play vital roles. They have any connections. I think if they can also be in a position to improve education sector in these districts, of course it will open the minds of these teenagers. Of course, there will also be their time for doing awkward things. Of course, it's going to be taken by the time that's they spend in schools. So I think government, of course, will have to see that education-wise, they will have to put a lot of emphasis. Like the youngest mother is 13 years. How can a 13-year-old mother do? Can see? So
and we could be also talking about the youngest mother being from the youngest district.
And you see this?
You see, this is a really big challenge that as stakeholders, we must all join hands to eradicate. Person, the campaign must start with me, must start with you, must start with the LC1 chairperson, must start with the LC5. And up to the president. And we must be talking about teenage pregnancy. And I love it, the president has always been talking about this, and we hope at the end of the day, people get to learn. It all goes back to what as fathers, we must have time with our children and talk to them about dangers of early sex.
What I know
because all this is coming back, I believe, due to exposure to early sex. So I think
first to me, when I was still in my primary, the gospel of teenage pregnancy used to be taught.
Because the schools used to say avoid early sex, avoid bad touches.
It used to be in schools, but now if much of the population of the teens, they are at home, how do you expect them to actually learn such kind of talks? So I think it is the work of the parents together with the children, and also government comes in. I see government as the last option, because you cannot, government representatives cannot go home to home saying that hey, you are still a teen, you are still a child, you go to school. It starts with you as the child, and then it comes to the parents, and then government comes as the last role model. I think this way, if we can be able to send our kids to school, our teens to school, our children to school, they can be able to acquire the talks of teenage pregnancy. Because I don't think in churches, maybe in community gatherings, people do talk much about
the clergy have to talk about it. Based on the campaign to end teenage pregnancy cannot be undertaken by one person.
Yeah, clergy,
all of us are stakeholders. The clergy, the leaders, we all have a role to play. The family is not forgetting the family, which is actually the smallest unit here.
Family is the pivot, actually.
Let's talk about it, because Benson, imagine a scenario where as parents, you go to work, you are leaving the children behind, and the children, as you said, are not going to school. What are they going to be learning? Definitely, and I don't mind, it's a devil's workshop. They are going to be learning all this. They're going to be practicing. So I think it's quite important for maybe the parents out there to also pick a lesson and send their learners to school. Let's send our children, let's educate them, because a world that is not educated, I really don't know how that will be meaning, but there's really great concern also as well in these districts where there's high dropout rate. Benson, this is a bigger challenge, and I feel we need to also talk about it.
It's very alarming, but why is it happening? That is one question, of course, you have to ask yourself as a viewer. Why is it that the rate of school dropout is very high, not only in Western Nile, I think it is all over the country. Why is it happening? Is it because of the parents? Is it coming because of the mindset of the children? Or else it is government? But in most cases, people, when something is going in a contrary way, people first start to blame government. But to me, government comes as the last option. If the rate of school dropouts are very high in the country, in fact, which stakeholder is first has to be blamed first? Me, I am looking at the children themselves.
I will blame the family.
First of all, I will start with
because the child is a child, is a minor.
A child,
I will blame the families.
A child is a child.
Benson, let me ask you a question. So it may sound a bit bad.
No. You come up.
You know, let me ask you this question here. How often have you gotten sex education from your parents?
Okay.
How have they, maybe to what extent did they expose you to sex education? Why I'm asking you this, I will tell you.
It depends on your size, I should say, like that. Your stage. You know, there are stages of growth. When you are still a teen or as a kid, of course, they cannot be able to lecture you about sex education. Then when you reach at a certain stage, that's when your parents or as any relative of yours, even an NF community member will start lecturing you about sex education. But what I know is education.
Is it still happening?
Education.
Because based on why I'm asking you this is I feel the learners have been left to learn this by themselves. The children most especially. I feel they have been left to learn these things from either themselves, for either through colleagues or other sources of information. But
first, it is very true.
Dangerous.
It is very true.
Benson, in Buganda, you find out when a child has reached teens, in most cases, they are taken to stay with relatives. And there's a term they say visiting the bush, together musiko. That is the term which we used to ask. Because I used to ask myself, what is this meaning of going to visit the bush? I used to ask this question very many times. And only to be told it is sex education. So as a girl child, you are taken to your aunties. It is your aunties that educate you about sex education. First of all, about the dangers of early exposure to sex, what it takes. You get the knowledge so that by the time you engage in that practice, by the time you reach maybe fit for that stage, you know what to do. And for the boy child, you're taken to stay with the uncles. It is the uncles that are there to also educate you about that. But when you come to Western sub-region or Northern Uganda entirely, nothing of that sort is happening. Okay, where you have to learn by yourself. How dangerous and how risky is that? You are not going to be knowing the dangers of that exposure.
That is the reason as to why I was saying that the children themselves, they play a pivotal role here. You know, there is a saying that you are your own driver. Sometimes, however much your relatives, however much your parents, they lecture you about sex education, but you are your driver. The steering belongs into your hands. If you don't know how to drive it, you may end up driving it in the bush. A child of 8 years as a child of 18 or 14 years, of course, I expect him or her to at least understand what sex or as sex education is. You cannot tell me that you are 14 years of age, maybe you were impregnated, or as you have impregnated someone's daughter because you were not lectured in sex education by your parents. They, of course, you know, when you mature in mind. Obviously, you will know that this one is bad. I have right to do this one. Much as I have right, but this one is very bad. A child of 14 years, or as a kid of 14 years, obviously will understand what sex is. If you drag yourself into it, I won't blame the parents, unless a kid who is below 8 years, that one, of course, cannot know what sex is. But a child, or as a teen of 14 years and above, of course, I expected him or her to have understood what sex is. So some of these things, I blame the children themselves, not the parents. Much as in most cases, people blame the parents because at that age, you are still under the sectorship of your parents.
Okay. Yes, Benson, that is where we are going to leave the discussion. We're just left with 6 minutes to wind up with these discussions. But I want to show you, Benson, yesterday there was a search that was conducted into the houses of the ex-KCA bosses. This followed the Stacey incident, and now the president did also direct what we call investigation to the matter. But yesterday we did see police searching out the houses of all these people here, and really somebody will be asking what evidence could they be searching, because the Stacey incident happened where people lost lives and the KCA bosses were first of all fired, and the president directed for an investigation into the matter to ascertain what exactly could have happened. But by yesterday we were able to see the trio houses being searched, and we were able to suddenly see police carrying out search in there. And Doris Kisaka's house was as well not spared. He is the former executive director and now has been replaced. But we did see investigations already commencing into the matter. What do you think maybe police could be searching for as evidence in relation to the matter?
Actually, if you talk about the whole movie, it is so hard to understand the reason as to why they are carrying out the research. Because what they are doing, I expect it to be not related to the incident, what had happened. Maybe because these officers, they were sacked, right? And the reason as to why they were sacked, of course, clear reasons, of course, have not been...
It is not established, but according to rumors, it is negligence.
Negligence, which of course resulted into the saga. Maybe, I'm looking at it in this way, because when something happens like this, when something is happening, and of course we don't know the major reasons as to why it is happening. This is how I've looked at it. The Chitezi saga, maybe government thought that these officers might have done something to have rescued those people, not to have reached up to that extent.
Yes,
maybe they thought that maybe the resource or the finance which would have been used in the sector of what had happened might have been dragged by those people for their own things. Maybe they are trying to carry out what they have been doing with the money, which of course would have been invested in that sector. That's according to my own thinking. Someone might also be thinking it in a different way.
Yes, that's you're right, because earlier warnings were actually sounded by the Lord Mayor, Elias Lukwago, who had warned prior to the incident that the Stacey dumping site is actually a catastrophe that is in waiting. But then the leaders maybe never gave time to solely ascertain what exactly was happening. Maybe they never solely gave time to understand what the warnings would actually be like. But we saw what happened. Maybe
okay, first, what I was trying to mean is
because for them they were clear that the funding from KCA is not enough. But maybe police could as well be searching for money in their houses.
Money maybe luxurious life.
Maybe luxurious to find out what they were keeping in their houses. Maybe the monies which KCA and government was allocating towards them. So I think that is maybe the search they were actually being investigated. But we do not know what exactly police is currently investigating. But I want to assure you the matter is not yet done. Investigations are still ongoing. We hope at the end of the day, when the right time comes, we shall be ascertaining and also finding out what exactly police was looking for as an evidence to what is happening. And that is where we would also really wish to stop with the discussions for here. And Benson, what really maybe would you see maybe this people could not have done?
The way I'm seeing, as we have just said, maybe government thought the money which would have been used in that sector of managing the garbages might have been used by these people for their personal things, maybe luxurious life. Maybe they were trying to check the economic status of these people, visiting their homes. That's why we are looking at it in that way. And we are hopeful that at the end of the day, or at the end of the period of the research, they will be able to come up with a meaningful and understanding reason as to why that we are doing the research.
Okay, that is Benson, and we hope at the end of the day, police will come out and tell us what evidence they were looking for in the search. And that will be coming in our subsequent days. And Benson, with that, we are going to be taking a short commercial break that will be ushering us into the second hour. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV. We are live on channel 477, that's on Star Times, and we are as well online across all our socials, where you can be in position to watch us on YouTube, that is at West Nile Television, where we are there on Facebook, and still you can be searching for West Nile TV and be in position to watch us. All you need to do is have a gadget that is connected to the internet, and you do not have to be worried. Wherever you are, you can be in position to watch us, be it in any part of the world, anytime, and from any location. With that, we take a short commercial break. This is still KOKOLIRIKO live with me, Farish Majid, and I'm not alone. I'm still together with Oracle Benson Pastori, and our final destination remains, of course, 9 o'clock. We take a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times. A wild celebration! The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room. Real Madrid, the team of dreams! Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back into the second hour of the show. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV with me, Farish Majid. And I happen not to be alone this amazing, beautiful morning of Friday. And I'm still together with Oracle Benson Pastore. Benson, the weekend is almost coming back.
Yeah, exactly. The weekend is coming back. And also, if I may take us aside, sports.
Do you know one of the big, not even sports, this time round we have a very big event. This is the competition of the chefs in West Nile, and this will be taking place at Santa Maria, where we are going to be testing everything and want to see the best cooks in this town. We want to see the best chefs happening, and this will be happening on Sunday at Santa Maria. What do you want to eat? Me, I want to eat what we call buga. Every time I hear of the word buga, is it the buga? This time round, I want to test that thing. I want to see how it feels like to eat.
And who is going to be who is going to come up with the best of it is actually what we are looking forward.
Yes, it's what we're
yes, you might be thinking about that. You want to eat this, you want to eat this, and from whom are you going to eat it is what we are looking for. What we are looking forward into. And also, Faris, one thing, of course, much as the segment of sports is still coming, the favorite league for Africans, English Premier League, is also bouncing back, and also towards the end of the show, there is also University League for Greater Arua. The finals are set to be played today. That means we having a lot as far as sports is concerned, and far as the emphasis is all about how we can be able to lift the standard of living of Ugandans, not only in West Nile but all over the country, health-wise, education-wise, So many things. Of late, we are seeing that in every sector, everything is becoming alarming. I remember we kickstarted the show discussing about health sector, in which we are able to visit some of the teenage districts. We discussed a lot, and also some of the traditional districts, and also the mother city itself, Arua city. If you look at some of the structures, yes, we may say that if you talk about the roads are somehow okay in Arua city. What about the structures? The structures I'm talking about are the buildings, the constructions. They are dilapidated. So what can be done? And also education sector. You move to some of these schools, it's really also becoming alarming.
Benson really talking about the dilapidated structures in Arua city, one facility which you cannot go unnoticed when it comes to dilapidated structures is the city hall.
Very true.
The facility lacks enough furniture. The floor, the tiles are worn out. Moving there as you're walking, as if you're going to fall in a grave. And that reminds me of one of the dormitories that was at the school where I was. If you move, the same sound is what is being made. That is City Hall. One of our dormitories used to be called Jerusalem. As you're walking, rumor had it that it was constructed on a grave. And as you're walking, you hear noise, you hear sound of different items. As you're moving, you feel, yes, indeed you're walking on a hall that has just been covered. And it is the same thing, Benson, which is happening at the City Hall. And which I feel the leaders must also do something about, because it's really embarrassing. Imagine VIPs coming all the way from where they're coming from, and we host them in that facility. I remember the last time we had a big dignitary happening in that was Minister Raphael Magezi. He was at the same facility, and I looked at the facility. I really did say, Rua City local government has to do something. It means that me and you have to do something in terms of paying taxes, so that taxes can be allocated for building and also developing the facility, and that would also be quite well. And that is where we are saying.
First, also another concern I want us to touch a little bit is the concern of thugs coming back. Are you aware?
Yes,
in the streets,
really,
people are suffering.
Really, the thing of insecurity is really returning back. And I cannot deny the fact.
To be open, 2 days ago, I got some people in discussion. They were discussing that the former RCC of Arua City, Charles Echogoro, ever since he left, immediately the thugs, they came back. Does it mean that he has been brainwork behind stopping these thugs from operating? I must say true, because Charles Echogoro, when he came, I remember it was late last year, he actually constructed a strategy in which operations were done, and obviously I should say most of these thugs, all of them, they disappeared. As soon as he was transferred, the thugs knew that the brain work behind the operation has gone. Immediately, they started coming back, and as I speak right now, it is rampant in the streets of Arua City. What can be done?
Yes, best when you look at the issue of security, yes, really I wouldn't want to talk very much about it, because it is really a hard to understand matter. Why? The thieves as well have a duty to fair hearing. And most of them were being detained. The community members arrest you and take you to court. Where you're detained, where you're not sentenced, because most of them were not sentenced, they were just detained. But then they have a right to fair hearing, and that is why Uganda Human Rights Commission also really has to stand with them and also really lobby for their rights to bail, because they have a right to get bail. And once you're being caught without evidence, because most of them are being arrested without evidence,
True.
it is just that the community members know that so and so is a thug and has been disturbing and has been terrorizing, they arrest you and take you down. They arrest you and hand you over to police. But the right processes are not being investigated, are not being followed. And that is how at the end of the day we are seeing them returning. Those who had escaped, yes, because others, when they saw their colleagues being arrested and being taken to yellow, they had to escape. They ran to neighboring districts. Bongi, others went to Germany, others crossed to South Sudan, others as well crossed the DRC, with a few also crossing over to Kampala. But situation, I do understand where they have not been the same. Where life has been difficult for most of them, and that is how at the end of the day others have been pleading, because we did see others. We saw others saying that they reformed. We had a group who actually said they already reformed and they wanted to come back. They kept on calling, they kept on sending messages back home that for them where they are, they feel life is not good, because most especially the group that went to Juba, they kept on communicating back, pleading to the authorities to come back. And that is how at the end of the day we are seeing them also already being coming back. And why is this coming so? At the moment, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the operations by the community members, the peace advocacy group, has for now been halted. And this is because the kind of maybe work they have been doing also has been in one way or the other, are not also really following the laws. Because one of the issues that I did also see being raised pertinent was the issue of torture.
Okay,
the question against torture in the suspects, because once you're arresting somebody, Benson, the person is presumed to be innocent. It is only at the courts of law that this person is either declared innocent or guilty. And once they're found innocent, they have to be given bail.
First, one thing of course we'll have to understand is, you know, there is a saying that the person who is next to you knows you better than people who are far away from you. So when these community members were carrying out the operations with the help of the officers, didn't we see the rate of snatching of, let me say, phones, and also mostly they grabbed the bags of handbags of the ladies. I think it completely went down. Matters these thugs who are actually arrested, who have actually gone to exile, they are trying to confess that they have reformed. Is it true? Why is it that it is coming back, and what should be done? To me, I'm just giving an idea. The first idea worked. The first strategy they came up with, it worked. Me, I am looking for a way of how we can be able to calm the situation or else bring the situation down like how it happened last time. I think the only thing that should be done is the community members, of course, should be given the go-ahead with the help of the officers to start operating what they were doing. Obviously, first, if I am guilty, of course, that means I might be innocent, or else I might have done the thing. So, to me, the best thing is to give the go-ahead to the community members with the help of the officers to see that they calm the situation, because of late it's becoming alarming, even during the day.
So I think that is one area, Benson, which we feel must also be given attention to. But we're saying the community members, most of the advocacy groups that have been supporting security with doing security work, because security may not be everywhere. I don't know how many numbers of soldiers we have in this place. I don't know how many police officers we have in this place. Because Benson, if you remember, if you trace back, during the time of insecurity, Arua had become indeed ungovernable. That is why the community members had to come out and also really support by arresting some of these criminals. We had also really seen many young people becoming thieves. Why? Because they looked at it as an alternative source of survival. They looked at it as the easiest way to make money. Somebody just comes and hires a motorcycle, and after a few minutes, you see the person coming back with a smartphone, you see the person coming back with a handbag, you see the person coming back with money. So where were they getting this money from? It is through this activity, which is a bit criminal, grabbing people's handbags, grabbing people's smartphones, which I really feel...
why is it that of late it is rampant? Is it because technology is changing? Or
why this thing is happening is because the pressure is from all over. Human rights advocates are really demanding for the justice of these young people. Most of those who are being arrested illegally and those who are not being tried. Because if you have to be in prison, first of all, you must be
undergo trial.
You must undergo trial. If you're on remand, how long are you supposed to be under remand? Is something that we need to also look into. The lawyers have said much about this. Most of these young people have been in prisons.
Also, if I may also interject, ironically, some of these operators, they're also students, others are pupils. You see, your parent is having money, the money is there. Your parent might be working somewhere, might be a civil servant, but you see that you're in senior 2, senior 3, maybe a pupil of P6, P7, you get indulged in stealing. What kind of thing? It's very, very ironically. So far as one thing I've come to realize is, I know for you to become like this, you might have played a role in paying your school fees. You know, of late, parents don't want their children to suffer in paying school fees. But during our time, you would come back from the school during holiday, Of course, you go for farming. Maybe your parent can rent some pieces of land. You go, you come back for holiday. The two mostly holidays are for 3 weeks. The 3 weeks you spend at home, you spend it in the garden. But of late, you don't see. At least before I get into the next point, because of that, you feel the pain of your school fees. You will know that, obviously, every time I get back for holiday, I am the part of my school fees, we go for garden work. But of late, we see that parents, there are some parents who are wise. Of course, you are back from holiday. However much rich the parent or the family is, of course, you pick her. Maybe your family might be here in a rural city. They might be having a large farm in Maria, I should say. Of course, over the holidays, the school-going ages in the family, they are all taken for farming. But of late, some parents, they still have that mentality. For them, they suffered. This time, they don't want
to see the children suffer. Others don't want actually to see the children suffer, which is really totally wrong. So we must ensure we raise the children in the best manner.
What am I trying to say here to the parents outside there? Make your child to feel the pain of his or her school fees. Because if you are going to say that for you suffered when you are learning, you don't want your child.
What about those ones who have the capacity and they still want to see the children suffer the same way they did? Benson, that is really something which I feel
that is the best strategy.
Really, Benson, doesn't matter if you suffered. You could have. There's nobody who wants to suffer.
It depends Benson, on how you suffer.
There's nobody who wants to suffer. It all goes back to how you upbring your children.
You know, sufferings are in different ways.
If you want to subject your children to suffer just because you suffered, they are going to suffer and they're going to be doing worse.
Okay,
they're going to do bad things than what you did.
The suffering I am talking about.
Give your children everything. Listen, we have parents who need suffered and made it in life, and they feel their children should not go through the same. But what kind of child are you going to be raising? You are going to be raising an irresponsible child. Why? The person will be having a mentality that my father has this, my mother has this, my uncle has this, which is totally wrong. But if you subject the child also to total suffering just because he suffered, today we have children, by the way, Benson, who have money, but they still want their children to go back to some of the schools that they went through because they feel it is the best way to raise their children. But we're saying that may not be able to work. All you need to do is identify strategies of ensuring that you raise your child in the best manner. Because to raise your child in the best manner, Benson, it is really one thing we must ensure we do. Because at the end of the day, these are children who are going to be supporting us, or they're going to be supporting themselves in the coming years. A child is not going to be remaining as a child. There will be a time they will be transitioning from a child to an adult, from there to an elder. This is the tradition.
Exactly. How do you nurture the transition is what matters.
It is what we call growth. You keep on changing from a toddler to a child, to an adult,
First, this one.
The chain is really long. So I think it is quite important for us to raise our children in the best manner. So how do you raise your child in the best manner is what we need to ask.
Exactly.
Understand your child. Understand your child. Make your child understand who you are. Have time with them. Have time with your families. Have family meetings. Sit down on round tables with your children. Guide them. Have enough time to lecture your children. Do not leave the entire burden, entire responsibility of raising children to only teachers entirely, or maybe communities. It is you as a parent to raise your child. Benson really over the weekend, over this week still, we were in Terego. This issue very much featured in one of the schools that we went to. This is a thing called Tuku Primary. The deputy teacher raised this concern that some of the parents feel government is already paying school fees. Why should they pay school fees? Because under UPE they feel government is doing everything. Now the entire burden has to be now on the schools. But is it the case? Is it really enough?
This one brings me to...
It goes back to responsibility. So how do you raise your child?
Exactly.
Is what matters here. Because,
also recently, West Nile Development Association in Sotes Winter, they were actually for a consultative meeting with the West Nile Parliamentary Caucus, whereby so many things we are discussed on how we can be able to develop West Nile economically, and education was one of the key things they discussed, and also resource management. Normally, when we talk along that area, people's mind talk about ATM, and you see that Pharisee, when we are still teens, when we are still kids, I should say, people used to, I think for several times you have ever said it on set, people used to hear people bringing their children from the other parts of the country to study here in West Nile. But today, it is the opposite.
Yes.
Of late, people are selling lands to pursue education, which is perceived to be in Kampala. So why is this one happening? Why is it that during the past, people from the other parts of the country, they used to bring their children to study here, particularly in West Nile region, but of late we are seeing the opposite, and people are selling land, and these children, they are studying in Kampala, and of course, this is the same syllabus. And what can actually be done?
Yes, Benson, it calls for individual responsibility. As people have money, this is the middle class, we have to trust the schools. We have to have trust in the schools.
That is the point.
Because without numbers, the schools may not be able to do enough.
What has
Most of the schools are really struggling just because of numbers. It comes back, all of us have a role to play, and we have an integral role to play as stakeholders. What do I mean by stakeholders? The learners, you have to read hard when you're at the school, because you perform. Many learners out there are going to be having trust in the school. As parents, if we send the learners to these schools and they pass, still, many parents will have trust in the schools and send the learners to these schools. And the teachers, what roles do you have to play? Teach the learners, make them pass. Now make the parents have trust in the schools. So that is where it becomes important.
Before you continue, now the question is, as I said, the opposite is now happening. Now our children here, they are studying now in Kampala. The past history has already been forgotten, you know,
and what has
gone wrong.
One of those stories that I cannot forget, my mother telling me, was when a chopper landed in one of the schools. This is at St. George's College, Ombasi, dropping a student who was, I think, a son to a minister. And that is the very first time community members were able to see what chopper looks like. My mother used to
will that kind of thing happen again?
I don't know. So I think it goes back. Today, many of us think the best schools are out of West Nile.
Exactly.
We are looking at our schools as schools that can perform. So we have trust in schools that are outside more than the schools we are here. And this is the same thing maybe during those regimes, maybe during those past years, that was happening. So I think it goes back. We have to make sure we work harder. What do I mean by working harder? As teachers, we must make sure we complete the syllabus. This year, I want to say it is actually one of those peaceful years. We have not witnessed any strikes happening. I want to thank the schools.
By the way,
year is already done. I want to thank the teachers. I want to thank the teachers. I want to thank police, because police has been moving. I really remember Josephine Anguchia when she was still in office with Matua, when we were able to move to some of these schools.
First, before I cut you short,
the learners, which is really something which I must say is yielding fruits. And we are not saying do not also take this for granted and now go and start misbehaving, because we are now seeing some bit of peace in our schools.
Is it a history now? Because I think it is the first of its kind we are seeing a year passing. Minus here of any strike in any school. Maybe it might have happened, we have not come across it, but I think if we are journalists, will they have heard about it, but we are still left with the 2 solid months. We never know towards the normal pot breaks at the last, but we are not paying for paying for that, because it is something which is obscene.
So, okay, Benson, that is actually quite good. With strikes, our schools are not going to be performing. They will not perform. They will not perform surely if strikes are within our schools. But now we want to say at least we are witnessing some bit of peace. And that means we have to acknowledge all the stakeholders. We have to appreciate police because they have been moving to some of the schools. We have to appreciate office of the resident city commissioners and the district commissioners as well, because they have been moving to some of these schools, talking to the learners about peace. And that is really where we want to appreciate all the stakeholders and above all the learners, because without them also really laying their part in ensuring peace, then we wouldn't be seeing the kind of peace they were witnessing in our schools. Recently, we were able to also really see the Independence Day celebrations. The learners were living together. I was able to see learners of school B relating well with learners of school A, which is the way to go. And at the end of the day, that is how we shall be performing as West Nile, not as particularly school A, not as necessarily as school B.
First, another thing I think we have forgotten about is, which is also playing a key role, is the introduction of patriotism in most of the schools. I
Yes,
think this
we
might
cannot
be also
underscore-
playing.
Definitely, you cannot underscore the role patriotism clubs are playing, and the patriots actually quite well. We did see the Passover where over 3,000 learners we actually passed all in Arua, which is really something which I must say is quite good. And this happened this year, and we hope next year as well. We want to see the training and the orientation go on, because under the patriotism training, the learners are oriented, first of all, to love the country. If you love the country, Benson, there's no way you're going to be harming it. That means if you love the country, you love your schools, you love your teachers, you love me, you love you, Benson. They will love everybody. So I think at the end of the day, there will be no need for strikes to happen. And what will that definitely mean? It means at the end of the day, we are going to be seeing peace at our schools, which we are seeing now. It means that patriotism actually has done a good job, and we must appreciate all the trainees and all those behind the patriotism also really initiative, because it is an initiative of government to make sure that learners love their country. And today the learners are actually being trained, and we hope if the training goes on, we shall be seeing the end of corruption happening, because under this ideological orientation of the patriotism, people are trained about the dangers of corruption.
True.
It means we are going to be raising learners who are future leaders, as people love the country, and we would want to see corruption in this country reduce.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it is the right time for us to tackle something about the ongoing University League in Greater Arua, particularly in
Benson, really, before we get to see that, really there's still lots more that is happening. In Koboko, the locals and the leaders are urging government to expedite the process of relocating, that is the government hospital, to Media sub-county. If you look at the government health facility that is in Koboko, it is actually sitting on a land which I must say is not enough. Recently I was in there where one of the local initiatives actually handed and blessed the facility with CCTVs, which is really something which I must say is quite good. And we had the Lumaga Foundation actually handing over that, and where we were able to see the facility receiving CCTVs. And I took a chance to actually traverse and move in the entire facility. You realize that the land in which indeed it is sitting is actually not enough. And rumor has it that government is actually planning to relocate it. And that is why we are now seeing the leaders and the residents of Koboko are now urging government to also expedite the process of relocating the government facility, that is to the new site in Media sub-county, citing severe congestion, which is really something which I must say is quite true. And the facility and the structures are actually sitting on congested land. If you look at the other stretch, which also really is in there, you will look at the facility being occupied by what we call, we have seen a lot of toilets happening there. The mortuary itself is very small. What about the wards? You enter the male wards, it is not enough. It's actually small, and at the end of the day, Benson, you realize that there's really indeed more that needs to be done, and to make sure the struggles that the sick patients are meeting, those who access services are really quite good, maybe addressed. Because if you look at the health facility, it is receiving patients from within Koboko, within neighboring DRC,
True.
within neighboring South Sudan, because the distance from that area is not very far. Today we have patients who are crossing over from DRC and South Sudan to access medical facility in there. And at the end of the day, that is how we are seeing that also really impacting greatly on service delivery. So I think we did see that happening, and we expect government to also really maybe put maybe strides in ensuring that this facility is located to Media sub-county, so that more structures can be put up, and we'll be able to see maybe the facility be used as it is intended, because we have rumors that the facility will be turned into children's hospital, which will also really be a good initiative in terms of addressing children maybe care. And Toroko Isaac, the district secretary for social services, raised concerns that the overcrowding is affecting the quality of health care provided at the facility, and he did go on to emphasize that the district also really is overstretched and unable to offer efficient medical care that is also due to the influx of patients beyond its capacity. And I already told you how it is receiving patients from the neighboring South Sudan and DRC. What do you think about that?
I think if it is going to happen the way you have analyzed, it is going to be a very good move, because these are the news masses, of course, will want to hear about, because me, I continue to repeat that issues to be done with the health, issues to be done with education. Once such kind of news comes like this, of course, it makes everyone happy. We are praying that it is going to happen, because sometimes we see these programs, these projects been put into plan, but they cannot be implemented, they cannot be worked upon. So we are hoping that it's going to be happen the way government, of course, has structured it. That is the only thing I can say about, because it has not yet started here.
And that is also really the only thing that we shall be using to end this hour and end this half, and we shall be entering the last commercial break. That will be ushering us into where we shall be seeing international stories in Kenya. The issues are also really going on. Gachagua's matter is not sorted. I will be letting the viewer also know what is happening in Kenya, but I want to show you the impeachment is really going on, with many saying that this is only happening in Kenya. It cannot happen in Uganda. But those are not my words, and those are not also the words of the station, but also the words of the masses, and what the masses are exactly saying. But it is also none of West Nile TV's views. But we are saying that is what is happening. We shall be letting you know what's happening in Kenya, and we shall be summarizing the entire discussions with what is happening with the university leagues which are going on. And I was able to see some of the universities competing. But for now, we have this short commercial break that will be ushering us into that discussion. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, the team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back. We are back into the final half of today's discussions. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show, the Friday edition, which is actually our first edition for this week and our last one because we have not been on since Monday, and we are back. And this is where, Benson, we need to solely see what's happening. Benson, welcome back.
Yeah, we are left with just some few minutes to wind up the show. Matthias, this week we have handled it once, but within the few hours we have had with you, we have given you a lot. We have discussed so many things, more especially in the health sector. We have talked about the education sector. We have discussed about how, of course, we can be able to nurture our children. So many things, of course, we have discussed, and also we have discussed about Chite's matter, still continuing, of course, investigations still continuing. We are still continuing the stories. What you only
okay,
is
Benson, now to summarize this half, let's look at what's happened in Kenya. Remember, after the bill that was thrown out, we did see chaos in Kenya, but it means really there's really a lot more that's happened in Kenya. And now the senators have impeached the deputy president, and now that's where we did see that happening. And this man actually really thinks these matters are not over. And now we did see 53 senators voted in favor. That is in the first count against Mr. Gachagua, who must have also followed the proceedings from his temporary refugee in hospital after also taking ill during the lunch hour in there. Well, the man has been sick, and all these proceedings are actually happening when he's sick. And in the end of the day, it was all but Cinderella after for now former deputy president, that is also really Rigathi Gachagua, who effectively stands also really impeached in there. And that is one thing also we did see that happening. And 53 voters and voted in favor. That's also really for the first count against Mr. Gachagua, who must have followed the proceedings in there. And one count is enough to confirm his removal. And that is one thing where we are seeing now Mr. Gachagua becoming the first Kenyan leader to also really be removed from office by impeachment, also really for ending a dreaded bromance that looked destined. That is, for heavens, also really just 2 years in there. Back then, Mr. Gachagua shot out to the blue into political limelight, become also really a cog upon his partner William Ruto, and that is where we are seeing that happening. But what does this also really speak about democracy in Kenya? What maybe lessons can other governments also really learn from that?
You know, government issues in Kenya of late, they have been so alarming. That's why we are seeing these issues each and every day. They are transpiring. I think the extent it has reached, of course, the situation is going to be calmed. What I want to tell to the viewers outside there is what I would actually wish to tell to the viewers not wanting is, you know, masses. Everyone in a country is also vital, and what is currently happening in Kenya, of course, we should not take it for granted. This is where the rest of the neighboring countries are going to learn from. And also, don't think that masses, they are primitive, they are ignorant. People observe, there is a saying that sometimes
should we say now the Kenyans are more maybe intellectually developed than us? Should I say that?
I should say yes.
In the last half, maybe as you would also give us
and also what we need to know is most of the literate masses, they are aware of what is happening in Kenya and what has been happening.
Do you know why?
Yes, I know the reason.
Do you know why? What is the reason?
Of course, I cannot reveal it.
The reason is Kiswahili. In Kenya, most of the times, as they are discussing intellectual matters, they discuss in Kiswahili. That ordinary citizen understands. But in Uganda, if a matter is being discussed in English,
but
how many rural persons will be able to sort of click and understand what is being discussed? So I think Swahili is really playing a great role in terms of enlightening the masses.
Okay. Now, still discussing about the language bit of it. Which language do you think will be the best in Uganda, such that the person who is deep from the village will also be in person?
You know, it is a matter of discussion, and many people have been also talking about it. But in Uganda, we do not have a national language, and that means we have to embrace Swahili.
But still, a literate person, a person who is illiterate, can be able to interpret it to a literate person. And what I was trying to say that people observing and people have known and people continue to know and understand what is happening in Kenya. And I want to be surprised if they will copy the same techniques, the same tactics they are using in any of the neighboring countries. It will depend on how, of course, the administration is carried out.
Language indeed plays a great role. We cannot underscore the role language is playing in Kenya to enlighten the masses. Because in Kenya you will move and you will, when people are speaking over the radios, over the television, Swahili The Kenyans are very attentive. And if proceedings are going on in Parliament, sometimes they also bring aspects of Kiswahili. So the Kenyans follow and they understand what exactly is expected out of them. In Uganda, I want to give an example. In Buganda, when the matter is being discussed in their language, you will see everybody attentive to the radios, attentive to the television. It means language that side is playing a great role. But in Uganda at large, we do not have a unifying language because we are of different tribes. We do not have that language which we must say can be able to unite us. Much as we are saying this language is the most spoken, it's still a matter of debate. This is the language that is most spoken in this country.
Can we also resort to Kiswahili?
Of course, we need to resort to Kiswahili. And that is why government has now introduced Kiswahili lesson in schools.
First, the fun thing is most of the people believe that Kiswahili is for officers,
and
for soldiers. Yeah.
That is why we're going to leave the discussion aside, and you as the viewer, you are entitled to your own opinion about Kiswahili, but all in all, we are saying we need to also have a language. I think the language in this case would be Kiswahili, in addition to English. That brings us to what's happening in the world of sports. The university leagues are going on.
These games, they commenced on Sunday last week, the actual climax into today, with some of the universities performing very well. Before I give you more of the details, UCU, Uganda Christian University, they are actually defending champions both in netball and in football. New sporting activity being introduced, that's volleyball. Only 2 universities registered for it, and the battle in netball is amidst these 2 universities. That's MUBS, Makerere University Business School, and Uganda Christian University. Matthias, IU, and Nile University, they're also there, but for them, they are not performing very well.
I think this time around, my University just came to participate.
But now, they are performing better than Bugema University and IU. As I speak right now, in fact, all the universities we have in Greater Arua, they managed to turn up. But you look at the log right now, it's IU. You talk about Bugema University and Nile University. That's the tail of the log.
And we apologize for that interactions, and it happens. And this is still West Nile. Much as we say we are connected national grid, we are still seeing these interruptions going on, and that is where the debate of the national grid connection continues to also unfold.
So do we say now regional grid?
It must be, we must be saying now we are connected to the national regional grid. So I think that is where we would also wish to apologize on the behalf of the government, because it's happening. We, much as we're saying we're connected to the national grid, but we are still seeing those loopholes in terms of power going on like that. But we hope at the end of the day the power will also stabilize, and we shall be seeing some bit of stability once and for all. Maybe your last half, as we get to summarize the discussions.
Okay, what I want to say last is, I remember when we had started with the show, I was talking about the favorite Africans League, English Premier League, bouncing back over the weekend. You can decide to watch the game you want, but the biggest one will be actually a giant clash between Liverpool and Chelsea, and also our own leagues in Uganda, StarTimes Uganda Premier League, big league. They are also all bounced back, but we don't want to give you details. The details will come in whistle time. That's when our bro Owen Ezaga will be in the studios together with Suzy Linda to give you what is transpiring national and also international.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's discussions, and we are going to be stopping with the week here, and we shall be bouncing back again next week. And with that, we want to appreciate and really thank you as the viewer who kept it with us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. We say thank you so much, and we are really happy to be with you and having you also be part of Western Television. Best of your last words, maybe in 30 seconds.
To the viewers outside there, what I want to say is weekend is already back. Have the best of it and enjoy it responsibly.
Yes, and when we talk about responsible enjoyment, we are saying enjoy responsibly, whatever way you wish to enjoy it. And that brings us to the end. And up next is the program that will be coming shortly from now. But before that, we shall still be having the Aeolas and News Bulletin coming in thereafter. And then we shall be having the Lubara Mabi program. That is for the Lubara speakers. Thereafter, Islamic Hour also will be coming through Lembangea as well is on the list for today, not forgetting the whistle time, which is already there. The Chuku Chuku, the final edition is still shall be coming through and summarizing the entire day with lots of other programs that will be coming through in here. And all in all, we want to say thank you so much from me and Benson. It's a goodbye. Let's link up again next time. We're out.